Currently available across 20 Indian cities and on e-commerce platforms, Tata Soulfull is a millet-based cereal brand that aims at reinventing millet products, targeting the health-conscious consumers. Today we have Prashant Parameswaran, MD of Tata Soulfull, taking us through the mushrooming healthy cereal industry in India. Hi Prashant.
Hi Soumya, great to be here.
We're very happy to have you too. And we're finally sitting across each other, but I hope this was in person, but never mind. Let's begin with today's interaction. So in the recent budget, the finance minister declared that 22-23 is going to be the International Year of Millets. How has this announcement really impacted the industry at large?
So this is a great announcement, and it's and just to clarify, so UN in fact made the announcement of 2023 being the International Year of Millets, and India, in fact, had last year was the India Year of Millets. And this entire thing and the sequence of, the finance minister in her budget speak about millets. And there has been a lot of motion and movement towards this entire piece. This is also the time of coming of millets actually getting itself into a mainstream area. As we all know, millets were a very, very core part of India until, during the Green Revolution, there was rice, wheat and corn, which was really prioritized and for all right reasons. And as the country is also prospering, it is the right time for us to go back and bring back these millets into the right foray. Just to give you some sense is India produces close to 40% of the world's millet production. Right. So it obviously, so as UN and as the rest of the world also picks up about millet and millet consumption, we stand as a large player within the entire global ecosystem to actually take these grains and market it to the world. And if I have to just very simply put it, right, we could be the next, what Peru and Bolivia and other parts of South America played for quinoa. We can actually play that role as being a lead supplier, and not just of millets as grains, but also as value-added products. And I think essentially what the finance minister in her entire piece and which has been transcending is then how do we all as brands and companies develop out products which are based on millets and actually make proper value-added products which can then be sold across the world.
Sure. Okay, talking of the pandemic, what kind of an impact did it, create on the healthy cereal segment? Any key insights that you gathered, or do you feel that the shift towards a more healthy eating habit did give a boost to your category in some way?
Absolutely, right? So, I think there are things that make what I call it just jumps, right? And like the pandemic did for e-com, like cell phone did for telecommunications, 4G for telecommunications, right? And I think what essentially the pandemic did was few things. One was it got everybody to introspect. Which is the toughest job for any company, any brand, because once it is about self-realization, then it becomes easier for us to then talk about the products. So what the pandemic did was, whatever may be the number of doses, whoever could be the vaccine, people understood a simple thing is I got to take care of myself and my family's health, because if that is the first port of call. So that was a great part of what I call the self-realization. How that really then transcended was then people then getting very curious about the kind of products that they can do, the products that they can eat. And really that's where it really played into the larger health and wellness segment. As much as people talk about the immunity as one thing, that's what they all talk about from one piece. But I think as an overall, the health and wellness aspect itself took a large boost. And just also, so what then happens, right, and directly to the categories that we play in snacking, we play in breakfast cereals, and we play in beverages. And when you look across these, what essentially happens is multiple moments of those that really start popping up, and people then starting to take those decisions. And the beauty being right? As everybody, and as I think, as as heading the business unit, what we always look for is it going to taper down? Is it going to really go back? And I think one of the things very clearly is, because of the uncertainty of waves, people have understood, like in this uncertain world that we live in, right? This is one part that is certain, which is I got to take care of my health, right? For me and my family, right? And I think that is the certainty that has been actually established. And I think what COVID essentially has done is really catapulted health and wellness. Now, if I layer that with our previous part of our conversation, which was on millets and saying powering your health and wellness through millets, I think that becomes a very, very strong story. Because at the same time, consumers are very, very aware, right? So they are aware of saying, don't just tell me that I'm health and wellness, healthy product, there's this, tell me why should I believe you? And people are very educated people, and with the pandemic, people's online research actually has jumped as well, right? I mean, if you actually see volumes on Google search, right, and if you just see pre and during and post, right, you can just see a large jump. And it is not that search has never happened, right? But curiosity of saying, once I've got this realization inside, I start searching and I start reading and digging deeper. And I think so when you look at all of those, what this really then means is true honest brands that are out there building out true honest health and wellness products actually start gaining and start really jumping leaps and bounds.
Sure. Okay, and talking of your audience, who really is your prime audience? Is it broadly the fitness savvy millennial population, or does the demand come from across age groups?
So we have two real parts of our consumer groups. One is where the kids and the moms, where we focus completely on children. So I don't know if you're able to see the video. So there's, in my background there is a monster, right? So the monster is called Karancha Mancha. He's our mascot, right? So if you have to take an aspiration, think of Calvin and Hobbes, right? I mean, the liaison between the mom and the child, right? Mom wants best for the child, but wants the child to still be a child, right? The child just wants to be a child. And how do you then make it fun, interesting, at the same time? Because as much as we are on health and wellness, we are not about bringing boring nutrition to the table. Nutrition is a part of life, and life has to be enjoyable. And that's essentially the entire thematic that we really follow for our entire kids segment. And so for kids, we have snacking and breakfast cereal. The other part of our business is what we serve for Young India. Young India does not mean only those by age, but also everybody who feels by heart, right? So I would say it is anywhere from 0 to 100 is my definition of Young India, if you will. But essentially from the core set of the consumer of Young India, what we then offer is a range of products ranging from breakfast cereals to muesli to a whole extension of products that are there. We also have smoothies, which is a plant-based protein beverage, and into very many new exciting categories as we enter. So two real spaces that we operate. One is the kids and moms, the other is Young India.
Excellent. All my good wishes for that. Okay, so I would now want to understand what are the kind of challenges and silver linings in marketing a product that is perhaps unique in nature, or maybe not that common when we talk of usage. Also that one serves to a very niche audience. So how do you really market yourself out there? What are the challenges, some advantages?
So maybe a couple of clarifications. One, I don't believe that this is a niche area, right? It is a mass area, and I'll explain as to why as well. And because if we have to make, and we're very, very committed about bringing millets back to the plate, right? And bringing it back from a consumption perspective, this earlier part of our conversation. If India has to really play its part in millets, it is not about playing it in niche pockets. It's about massification of it, making it mainstream, if you will. So that's the first part on niche versus mainstream, and I believe that it's very important to make it mainstream. Like any product, I think it has to, you have to be solving for a problem, right? You have to solve for a problem, and what is that problem for a kid? What is the problem for the mom? One part. Yeah. Second part, what is the problem for the young adult? What is it that he or she is seeking? What are you serving for? Once that problem solution is really defined, what are you delivering? And then do you deliver on that promise 100%, and do you deliver it consistently? And I think one of the key things in health and wellness and in products is at the end of all of that, right, you need to deliver on taste, right? Because ultimately, as much as there is nutrition, we are in the business of food, right? So food is about taste. We are not in pharma. Pharma is about pure nutrition alone, right? Nutrition, supplements, all of those. Here it is about delivering both of them together. So how do you deliver both of them together is a very important thing. And obviously, as you move in and as you start driving, or building out an entire business around it, what then becomes important is then how do you get people to start doing trials? How do you start getting them to taste the product and really believing? Because if somebody comes and tells me, hey, this is a healthy product, etc., first thing is, but I don't think it's going to taste great, right? That's the first piece. So how do you then ensure that you're getting into as many people to taste and really see that you're delivering your promise? So I think that's a very important part. So sampling, all of those becomes a very, very integral part of building out the business. It has been from the start, it continues to be, and I think it will continue to be till, there are enough and more brands out there who are actually offering healthy products and that are genuinely tasty. So I think that's the real zone. And just to give you a sense, as I was telling you about the massification, so we have a product called the No Maida Chocos, right, which is from Tata Soulfull. That's the other pack, I think, that you see. It's just why do we say it's mass? It is present today in 3 lakh outlets, right? And I believe we have just scratched the surface. Right? There is a long way for us to go. We are able to go. And the beautiful part about this is not about just placing a product, right? It's about people then picking up the product, consuming it, going back. And so, when we go into the markets, when we go into small stores, the typical kirana walas, right? I mean, they're like, boss, ye to bik raha hai. I mean, people are understanding it. Yeah. People are getting it. Now, obviously, it takes time to reach that particular point. It is not that tomorrow morning somebody goes, puts up, it happens. It is a process. It is an ability for us to be able to build. But essentially, what are you doing is delivering on that product promise. And that is why, so the classic question that we keep going is it a new customer? Is it an existing customer? Right? Because the key part is how do you then make them and make it start becoming a part of the diet. And that is really where then we again stay core to our vision, right? Is making India's ancient grains relevant to the 21st century consumer. And if we are not solving for that 21st century consumer's problem, he or she ain't going to give us even 2 rupees.
Okay. So what kind of a marketing and communication strategy do you really follow? And do you also bet big on digital?
Yeah. So we have 2-3 pieces of our, our entire marketing piece of our strategy. And I look at it as 2 parts. One is outside the store, and the second is inside the store or at time of purchase, right? So the first part, essentially, we do a lot of communication work that is there, either through the digital platforms like you mentioned, and also on mass media, right? So we advertise quite a lot, and over the last 1 year have been really supporting the brand from its growth perspective. And because if you have to be in mass, you can't just be in digital. Right, so you need a mix and match of both. And if I have to sell in the kirana wala, if you will, like I was saying, 3 lakh outlets, and we're going to grow and rampant the distribution further, we need to be in mass. So we are actually very, very active in the mass media to build and grow the business out. And this is mainly that is there for the kids and the moms and that entire piece. For our adults part of our piece, that is where it's a lot more digital skew, because young India spends a lot more time on their mobile, a lot more time on their smartphones, and that's where then those pieces of the communication go. What is then the part that's there is inside the store, and that's where is real moment of truth really starts. And there is a lot of work that we do of inside the store as well. So essentially, if you think of it, I mean, it's a whole 360 approach that you have to take towards marketing. And I don't think it is just like, okay, maine maal dal diya and I'll just advertise. It's the entire 360 that we need to do, because this is a large category and this is a large area for us to grow.
Sure. And taking cue from the background, I see that you launched your D2C website in 2020. So I have a question on similar lines. So there cropped plenty of brands in the healthy eating category in the recent past, whether it was D2C or offline. Not, essentially the channels are not really important here. But who do you really consider your competition, and how do you continue to maintain, a distinct brand identity?
So My competition definition, I mean, don't laugh at me at this, is anybody who is fighting for the 5 to 10 rupees that is there in the wallet.
Okay.
So that's my starting point of definition of who's competition. Competition is not A, B, or C, because I think as a consumer, and if you think as a consumer, I work hard, I earn a salary, I get something, and then there is a budget that I have to spend, and that budget, who should I give, right? And that's essentially what the homemaker, the husband, the wife, whoever is holding the purse or the wallet in the house, to me, that's who we serve. So that's one. The second is on, in terms of a lot of new age brands that are out there, and I think that was essentially the core of your question, right? I think there are some really good ones. There are some really good ones in terms of how they are building out, and essentially there are also a number of them who are not successful, right? Who and what is definition of success, what is not, comes back to the core things. Are you delivering on your product promise? Are you solving for a problem, and are you delivering it consistently, right? If you see, and if it's a checkbox against these three, you see that they are the ones who are successful, and I think that becomes important. D2C, as you rightly pointed out, is a very interesting and very important area, and I think it's not just a COVID fad. I think it's very much here to stay, and it will continue to stay. What does that really give us? I mean, there is a business part to it. There's no denial. But what that gives is the brand to actually interact with their consumers, right? And gives that first level connect. So it's less about business, but it's more about, it's a beautiful, a feedback mechanism, a beautiful way of an interaction that can really happen between the brand and the consumer and as people, right? And as people. And I think that becomes very important. You can funnel it in for your marketing, you can funnel it for your insights, you can funnel it for research, you can really use it for brand love. There are so many levers, and I think you can just keep going on and on in D2C and actually building what I call a true lovable brand. And I think that's where D2C really plays its part.
Sure. Okay. Coming down to my last question, what are some of the trends that maybe we can expect in this category in the next 2 years? What do you foresee?
This is a category, and these categories that I spoke about. I think a large area that you will see, which is snackification of meals, and I'm sure everybody's heard about it. Everyone's talking about it. I think moments of consumption of eating is just only bound to increase. Gone the 3 meals, came the 5, then came the 8, to some now saying eat something every 1 hour, right? Which is crazy, which has been close to 12 to 14 meals, depending on how long you're awake. But I think moments of consumption is increasing. And I think and consumers don't think category. Companies and brands category, right? And which is a perennial mistake, right? But if you start thinking in the day of the life of the consumer, right? And I think there's just going to be so many new options, so many new myriad of areas that's going to really come out. And I think this is just a start of a journey. And I think where the explosion that you're really going to see is what we all call mini meals, snacking, and those areas, which are not just your main meals. Main meals are definitely going to be important, but I think this is going to be the new area that you will see. And so if I'm going to have so many more consumptions, given that now I'm introspecting about my health, given that, I've seen this whole COVID come in and out, given that there is this whole millets play, and how do you bring that all together? And that's what Tata Soulfull is really all about.
Sure. Thank you so much for your time, Prashant. I had a lot of insights from this interview, and I hope that the audiences will have their takeaways as well. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you so much for your time as well. Thanks.